Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council regular council meeting agenda, the Harry E. Mitchell Government Center. Item number 1 is call to order. Members of the public who attend the meeting physically are asked to maintain distance between other parties, and masks are optional for all attendees per City of Tempe policy. Alternatively, members of the public may attend the meeting virtually through Cisco WebEx events by visiting tempe.gov/council meeting info for more information. Council meetings can also be watched in real time via Cox Cable Channel 11 and at tempe.gov/tempe11. I'd now like to invite everyone who's willing and able to join me to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Next up, item number 4, meeting minutes. Tonight I'm going to be assisted by Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to approve City Council meeting minutes 4A1.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Navarro. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Garland. Please vote. And is Vice Mayor Adams on? Oh, there she is. Yep. Okay. That item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Next up, we have item 4B, acceptance of board, commission, and committee meeting minutes. Councilmember Navarro.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to have acceptance of board and commission committee meeting minutes 4B1 through 4B7.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Navarro. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item also passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Next up here, item number 5, reports and announcements. I have one announcement. So we lost a pillar in our community, Miss Zita Johnson. Zita was a very active Tempe resident, and along with her husband, Penn, made tremendous contributions to our Tempe community over the past 50 years. Zita volunteered with many organizations in the city and around the valley. She was a truly gifted woman who devoted her time and talents to building community and making Tempe a better place for everyone. From board memberships on Tempe Community Action Agency and the city's Human Relations Commission, Zita's energy and passion for people led her to serve on numerous committees and commissions that promoted education and diversity. She was president of the board for Tempe Community Council, and most notably, she was a governing board member for Tempe Union High School District for 12 years, where she had the distinction of serving as its president 3 times. Zita was a person who never actually really retired. In the past several years, she played an important advisory role to former Councilmember Robin Arredondo Savage when she created our education initiatives that included the very popular College Connect program. Her lifelong contributions of community service culminated with her being honored with the prestigious Don Carlos Humanitarian Award in 2001. And just for everyone who's not aware of that award, it is a Lifetime Achievement Award for Tempeans that have truly made an incredible mark in this community when it comes to humanitarian contributions and philanthropy. Zita was an amazing woman who made a positive impact on the Tempe community that is being still felt today and that will be felt for the remainder of time. My condolences to Penn, her husband, Jennifer, and your entire family. Zita will be missed, and the memory of all of the good that you have done in this community will, I know, be cherished by all of us on the council and by the entire Tempe community. So to the Johnson family that I know is really grieving right now, she was an amazing woman, a mentor to me, and I know everyone sitting up here. She is going to truly be missed, but she did leave an indelible mark on this community. So we will really miss you, Zita. Thank you for everything you did for all of us. Let me turn, if there's council members who'd like to make comments now or I know we usually, am I allowed to do that, Madam City Attorney, or do I need to wait until the last portion?
You could move that matter to discussion at this time.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So while the collage is still up, Councilmember Hodge.
Yes. Yes. I just want to say from the education community, for her service from 2002 to 2012 on the school board, she's been a pillar of our community. Not only that, she also served with me for the last 12 years on our TAP, our Teenage Pregnancy Board, and what she's done for that, and also what scholarships she has in her name. Zita has mentored almost all of us who came be underneath her on the school board. And I don't know, it's just going to be really hard to have that to have the time without her being there. This is going to be the first meeting coming up in a couple of weeks that she will not be a part of. She's been a part of it. So I do love and will cherish her for the rest of my life. And I know she has big shoes to fill in our education community. I hope that a few of us together can get together and fill those footsteps together. And I just love the family, and all my prayers and thoughts go to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hodge. Anyone else on council? Councilmember DeVar.
Thank you, Mayor. No, obviously prayers and thoughts to the family, such a strong family, and a family that's been very part of this community, but Zita especially, just as said, her heart with education, her heart with students, just to make sure that, we're doing the right things. Her even check-ins, with council meetings on various subject matters. She was a real, for me, personally, getting me started into city council, when I started back in 2008. She was a guidance for me, and just listening to her and her wisdom and her resources of knowledge that she's had over years and years has just been tremendous. You hate to lose someone like this in your community because it makes your community stronger, but there is that day, and I can only say we're very blessed to have her for as long as we did. In this community, doing the things that we truly appreciate and the work that she's truly dedicated to. But I also know her family is going to be part of that too. So she will be missed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember DeVar. Councilmember Chin.
Thank you, Mayor. I find it difficult to put into words. Zita has been a professional and personal influence, as Councilmember Hodge indicated, for all of us. I especially felt her influence in my life, her quiet strength, sometimes not so quiet strength, and the entire Johnson family. They're in my thoughts right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garland.
I just want to echo what everybody said. I just want to send my condolences to the family.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Anything? Vice Mayor Adams. Okay. Let me next go on then to item 5B, City Manager's Reports and Announcements. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A couple of announcements tonight. First, we'll start with an update regarding the Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative, our innovation track work. And we will have, it's Wydell, right? Yep. Just one moment. She'll be right up.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. We're happy here to present to you a group of employees who spent the last year learning a methodology to bring innovation capabilities into the city. We were selected from both national and international cities as part of the 2022 Innovation Track for Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Program. Our partners included Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Center for Public Impact. Our team had two items of our mission. One was to learn an innovation methodology to build our capabilities here in the city, as well as address our challenges in regards to those who are unhoused, and programs and services and strategies that would support and complement the rest of the work that we're doing across the city along with our partners. And so I just wanted to share with you the members of our team. We spent every Wednesday afternoon for at least 3 hours just in our coaching sessions with our coach, Corey Cheo. On top of that, one of the main tenets of innovation is co-designing, not designing for people, but designing with people. And so in regards to our research and studies and prototyping and piloting with our unhoused community, we worked with our local Tempe businesses. We met with teams and groups of people who serve those who are unhoused. We met with our internal staff, our external partners, and most importantly, we met with those who have their lived experience to share with us in regards to being unhoused and how we might innovate in that space. And so I would just like to thank our team. I know we have a photo opportunity coming up. So the members of our team were if you could come up as I say, as I invite you. But we have members of our team from a lot of different departments across the city because we know innovation doesn't occur in a silo. It's a very interdisciplinary approach. And so I'd like to thank our Chief Deputy City Manager, Rosa Chalsty. She served as our innovation lead. I was privileged to serve as our project manager lead. Daryl Duty from Tempe Fire Medical Rescue served as our learning lead, and Shauna Warner served as our equity and community lead. Those were 4 tenets important into our participation as well as how we move this forward in our organization for many years to come. We have a big team that was part of this. Craig Hayton from Community Services, Nikki Ripley, Braden Kay, Alexis Allen, Tamika Myers, Sean Still, Eric Iverson, and Andrea Vasili. And so we had people that were able to fill spots when we had a couple vacancies due to people having babies, and other times when we needed a different perspective coming into the discussions and the planning session. So I just want to thank everyone for participating in that and for city manager as well as mayor and council support in regards to how we move innovation forward in our community. And so congratulations, we are now one of the few cities who have done this. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're doing photo op. Thanks. Thank you, Andrew.
So, Mr. Mayor, we're going to have the members of the team who are here, quite a few of them.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Can we stand back and photo bomb?
Need to be right in the middle. You guys should bring. Are we okay, Eddie? Yep. All right, thank you.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add to say Wydell and the whole team, the amount of hours, the dedication of this, the willingness to tackle homelessness as the project that they wanted to build innovative strategies around, that's clearly a big priority for our city. And it's the kind of thing, this groundwork that's been laid that will become part of the culture of this organization. I mean, we've talked for years about innovation. Now we actually have the tools and the process to go about actually innovating on a regular basis. This was the first group, but my hope is that we've trained these individuals to continue to pass it on and to work on and to institutionalize innovation in ways that we've never seen before, and that will really take us into the future just in a much better place. I think it's that kind of laying the groundwork that can really set the stage for a much brighter future for the city of Tempe. So it's something I'm very proud to have been a part of, and I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for including myself and Rosa as part of the team that got to go and meet with the Bloomberg Harvard folks when you were selected as one of the 38 mayors to be part of the City Leadership Initiative in the 2021 class. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For my second item tonight, I wanted to pass it over to our interim city clerk, Kara Durastia, to talk a little bit about upcoming election information.
Thank you. So I wanted to go over a couple of key points and also election dates to keep in mind for the May 16th election. So on May 16th, Tempe voters will have an opportunity to vote in a special election which presents 3 propositions that were placed on the ballot by referendum. This special election will be a ballot by mail election, and all qualified voters who live within the city will be automatically mailed a ballot. So in the question of what is a referendum is a power granted by the Arizona Constitution which allows a person or organization to put legislative acts of the city council to a yes or no vote if enough valid signatures are submitted in support of holding the election. A yes vote allows the act of the council to go into effect, and a no vote serves as a veto and prevents the council from going forward with the legislative act. In this case, on November 29, 2022, the City Council adopted resolution number R 2022.170, ordinance number O 2022.56, and ordinance number O 2022.57 to facilitate the sale and redevelopment of city-owned real property located at the corner of Priest Drive and Rio Salado Parkway. The one resolution and 2 ordinances were all referred to the May 16, 2023 special election ballot for a public vote. So here is the first proposition that will appear on the ballot on the May 16th election. And this slide here shows a screenshot of the actual Proposition 301 language on the ballot. And it also explains what it means to vote yes or to vote no on this measure. The next slide shows the screenshot of Proposition 302, and it also talks about what it means to vote yes or to vote no on this measure. And the third proposition is Proposition 303, and it also includes language about what it means to vote yes or vote no on this measure. A copy of the Development and Disposition Agreement can be found on the Tempe Entertainment District webpage under Development Agreement and Synopsis at tempe.gov/Tempe Entertainment District. The 3 propositions will be provided on a sample ballot in the publicity pamphlet, which will also include filed arguments for or against the 3 propositions, as well as information about early voting, voting locations, and voter identification at the polls. Additional information about the propositions and the election is available at tempe.gov/election. And the next slide here shows all the important dates related to this May 16th election. So Tempe voters will have the option to return their ballot by mail, drop it off at a secure ballot drop box or voting location, or vote a replacement ballot in person. You can visit beballotready.vote to verify your voter registration information. And so here are the dates explaining when military and overseas ballots for this election are being mailed beginning April 1st. And then the publicity pamphlet will be mailed to households of registered voters in Tempe beginning April 11th. The last day to register to vote in this election is April 17th. All eligible voters will be mailed a ballot beginning April 19th, and drop boxes will also begin to be available beginning that date. The last day to request a replacement ballot in the mail is no later than 5 p.m. May 5th. The last day to mail back your voted ballot is May 9th, and Election Day is May 16th. Election results are posted at 8 p.m. on Election Day. And if needed, the last day to cure your signature on the ballot envelope is May 19th. And then on the last slide here is just where you can find more information about the May 16th election. And it has the URL for the city clerk's election page our phone number and our email address, and then also the information for Maricopa County Elections Department, which can assist you with voter registration and also questions about how to request a replacement ballot or receiving your ballot in the mail. And there's also a dedicated website on the Tempe Entertainment District project. So please take the time to read through the information provided on these websites and in the publicity pamphlet before casting your vote. And if you have any election or voting questions, please reach out to Maricopa County Elections or the City Clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate it. City Manager?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, next up, item number 6, public appearances. According to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters listed on this agenda for discussion and legal action. The purpose of the open call to the public is to allow individuals to address the City Council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Public appearances shall be limited to an aggregate total of 60 minutes. No person shall speak more than once, and there is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers present at the podium must state their name and city of residence and provide a speaker card. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council or while addressing the meeting. Speakers will be taken first come, first served in the order in which the cards are received. Speakers' visual aids and appearances by phone or recordings are not allowed. Council members are prohibited by state law from taking action on, commenting, or discussing a matter raised by a member of the public, even if asked to do so by a member of the public, so long as the subject discussed by the speaker is not listed as a specific agenda item for council consideration for discussion and legal action. At the conclusion of public appearances, the council may ask the city manager to review a matter or place a matter on a future agenda. Okay, I'm going to take these cards in the order that I received them, and I think I've got one that's a duplicate here. So I'm going to put that here. The first card I have is from David Sokolowski, and who I think is here virtually.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is David Sokolowski. I live in Tempe. Tempe will need to build a minimum of 1,000 affordable units per year to build a total of 20,000 affordable units. The city will need an additional 700 units in 2023. Our state will need to build 270,000 units to meet demand and stabilize our housing market. Otherwise, Tempe might need 30,000 affordable units. We can see what happens when cities are not able to meet the demand for housing, and it's catastrophic to communities. At the March 14th review meeting, I was extremely disappointed to hear that Tempe is doing backflips to build as few units as possible and still make this project work, the Victoria Commons project. The city will approve 20 homes for purchase, and our city needs 20,000 affordable homes. 60% of Tempe's population are renters, and soon it will be as high as 70%. But 60% of Tempe's land will still be zoned for low-density single-family. The city doesn't support getting rid of single-family neighborhoods, but the city won't allow tall buildings. At least one of those things needs to change in order to solve the housing crisis. Tempe is supposed to make decisions based on facts, and Tempe is landlocked. Inclusionary zoning won't change that fact. It's impossible for Tempe to purchase 800 acres of land, even if we had federal funding. Every single neighborhood has a NIMBY that doesn't want affordable housing in our city. They don't want to split lots, they don't want ADUs, they don't want duplex, they don't want apartments. They don't want housing in Brentwood, or Maple Ash, or Riverside, or Hudson. Now Victoria Commons is just the most recent example of NIMBYs trying to restrict the supply of housing. The Riverside neighborhood is constantly being redeveloped, but this neighborhood is stagnant with 20 vacant lots. On Farmer Ave, Tempe approved 5-story buildings next to single-family homes. Why does Tempe have this double standard? Tempe can't explain where it's going to approve 700 affordable units in 2023, and the city doesn't have plans for next year. Victoria Commons is located on a light rail station. This project should be mixed use, mixed income, and high density. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. The next speaker I have is Jason Barr, who I believe is also virtual.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Jason Barr. I live in Goodyear. I'm a former Tempe resident, a former Tempe planning intern, and I'm hoping to move back to Tempe in the near future. I'd like to voice my support for the general plan amendment and the rezoning for the mixed-use higher density development along Apache. I believe the city of Tempe and the greater Phoenix area need to prioritize increasing housing supply and trying to incentivize developers using the levers and the tools the city has at their disposal. I've looked at the city of Tempe as a leader in the valley regarding the way it's developed. I'd like to see Phoenix and Tempe blossom together and have the feel of a quote unquote real city, just meaning more urbanized, more amenity rich, more walkable. Tempe's made incredible strides since I've lived in Arizona. But I just think it's imperative that we continue to push and harness all of that momentum that's been created. I do understand that there's always concerns that go along with growth in any city, but I think it bears mentioning that the housing crisis is so severe, we need to prioritize it. It needs to be a top priority, in my opinion. And it seems that the housing market started to recover early 2010s, approximately, from what I know. But much like the overall economy, in my opinion, it's left far too many people behind. So I would just like to reiterate, I strongly support the general plan amendment, the rezoning, and any other land use action that encourages the increase of housing supply and affordable housing in the city of Tempe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. The next speaker I have is Christine Hartman. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Well, I'm Christine Hartman. I live in Tempe. I'm here to speak on item 8C1, the same item. I don't have it in front of me. And I'm here again to continue the conversation from the last time I was here. I've been here several times regarding development on Apache Boulevard, where it sits along the University Heights neighborhoods. We are marked as culturally sensitive neighborhoods, and we have made it very clear that we are not open to ultra-high density development. And I feel like it's falling on deaf ears. These people that are speaking, they don't live, and they're not going to feel the impact, the impact of this. Well, whatever it is, it's just an amendment change, which is really another issue I have. I really wish we had a project to throw darts at, but really it's just a little paragraph written in urban legal jargon. There's really nothing to get mad at. It's really kind of unfair, and it's kind of slipping in, and it's laying the groundwork for a foregone conclusion that we will have high density, where we have clearly voiced that we do not want high density. We're already zoned for medium to high, and we don't want to triple that, and I don't apologize for that. And then I have some thoughts about affordable housing as well. I don't think we should be cultivating more renters. I think we should be coaching renters into home ownership and helping them, giving them a vehicle, some sort of a down payment, rather than cutting their, giving them a discounted rent, charge them normal rent, and that at the end of three or 5 years, they'll have a $10,000 down payment to put on a house. So just also another solution would be to loosen up on R6 zoning and let residents build affordable housing. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have is Mario Martinez. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Mario Martinez, and I live in Tempe. And I am here to address information about the election that the clerk was respectfully going over. And this is information that I requested that deals with requested 2 months ago. I requested this information through a public information request on it, and I copied Corey on it. And I thought that it was going to be, shall we say, evasive. And well, guess what? I haven't heard about it. The information regarding the Coyote proposal, I was very concerned when I found out that former Mayor Hugh Hallman was representing our city in the Coyote negotiations. The reasons I'm concerned are multiple, okay? But what I requested is, if that was true, I asked Corey to verify if it was true, that I get copies of the invoices that him or his law firm received, and I wanted a copy of the agreement as well, okay? And I'm concerned that he is not the most qualified person, to put it mildly. For one thing, he's a registered developer lobbyist with the city of Tempe. Let me emphasize, a registered lobbyist before the city of Tempe. I have nothing against registered lobbyists, developer lobbyists. I certainly question why such a person would be the most qualified to represent Tempe neighborhoods and Tempe families. It's extremely concerning. I mean, his job, what he gets paid for now, is to basically increase the developer's profits. Well, that's his incentive. And if he's getting paid for this, the least the voters are expected or should be able to do is find out how much he's getting paid. There's other matters of concern. The other matter of concern is, I'm running out of time here. 52 seconds, pardon me, is when he was mayor of Tempe through his city manager at the time, Charlie Myers, he was trying to rig elections before Donald Trump made it popular. I mean, he tried to tell people to take down the signs. And now we have him representing us. That's not to mention he was a headmaster of Tempe Prep, and Tempe Prep gets about $4 million a year in public funds. He's the one that hired Kobe Granville and put him in the classroom. Hello? If a priest, if a bishop lets a priest into the congregation and that priest sexually abuses minors, should we give him a contract to represent the city of Tempe? I don't think so.
Thank you, Scorpino. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. The next speaker I have is William Souza Lee. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
I'm William Souza Lee, and I live in Tempe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, Renaming Committee, Mr. City Manager, city staff, for giving my family and myself this opportunity to express our appreciation and gratitude for honoring my great-grandparents, Juan and his Jesus Maria Sotelo Sosa, and my great-great-grandparents, Tiburcio and Manuela Sanchez Sotelo. I am the 9th of 10 children born to my parents, Andrew and Susana Sosa Lee. We lived at 115 West 3rd Street in a house my parents built themselves in 1938 from adobe blocks they built by hand before the city purchased our property for redevelopment. I've been a Tempe resident all of my 75 years, except during my two tours of duty in Vietnam while serving in the U.S. Navy. I have witnessed many changes in Tempe. One of the best changes I've seen is renaming schools, streets, parks to better reflect the cultural diversity of our community. Tempe has come a long ways. My mother was disciplined in school for speaking Spanish. My father was compelled to address the city council as a tax-paying citizen to allow his non-white children to swim in Tempe Beach every day, not just on Sundays when they drained the pool. I continued the effort to improve diversity and equity in our community by being one of the first people to serve on the Human Relations Commission. With your vote tonight, I am proud of Tempe on behalf of my family, parents, grandparents, ancestors, for honoring the Sosa and Sotelo names and bringing recognition to their contributions as early Latino Tempe pioneers. Juan Sosa helped to build the foundation of early Tempe. He served the community as a constable and deputy sheriff. Manuela Sotelo, the Mexican mother of Tempe, cared for her community. She shared not only her knowledge of living on the frontier with her neighbors, but also her Catholic faith. She promoted economic development and supported public education. Parque de Sosa is a good representation for us Lees, who are both Mexican and Chinese. In addition to the park having an Hispanic name, it has an Asian Zen feature. It is also special to have the area where my mother was born and raised and where I visited my grandparents be designated as Rancho de Sotelo. Now the family will receive equally high recognition
Yeah, give it 30 seconds, so.
as other Tempe founders. I am proud of my son, Ty Lee, for championing this recognition. He was instrumental in bringing the Sosa and Sotelo names to the forefront. It was his tireless research and work that made our family names and their contributions not lost to history. Well done, son Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, the next speaker I have is Patricia Camden, who I believe is here virtually.
Let's see. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, just state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, oh, I don't need 3 minutes. It's Patricia Camden, and I'm a Tempe resident. And I'm just speaking, hoping that the Apache Central project will respect the general plan and not be excessively intensive. It abuts an historic neighborhood for one thing, and we're concerned about how that will affect the neighborhood. But also, I don't see why the council would not respect the general plan in the first place. That's what it was set there for. So that's my view. And I appreciate the time.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, appreciate it. The next speaker I have is Dominic Flores. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor. Excuse me, good evening, Council. My name is Dominic Flores. I reside in Tucson, Arizona right now. I was born and raised in Tempe, resident for a long time, along with my family. I'd like to thank the committee, the council, in selecting and recognizing my grandfather's name, Pedro Pete Obregon, for the street name. My grandfather was born and raised here in Tempe and lived and died in Tempe. He loved the city, and our family is grateful for this acknowledgement, and I want to thank everyone here for recognizing him. It means a lot to me personally. I was born here. I walked these streets, every street, just about every street. And this is very meaningful to me personally. And I'm a fourth generation, so I know that he's happy, and my grandmother is happy that this finally happened. So thank you for your help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Thank you. The next speaker I have is Darlene Justice. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Darlene Justice. I live in Tempe. I'm here again just to thank folks, Craig Hayden, Keith Burke, Jennifer Adams, for all the work that they did on the grass clippings for our golf course and that. And I really look forward to people. I think that they came up with a really good plan with the folks that are proposing this, and I think it'll really help our community. Having a restaurant will be wonderful for some of us who don't play golf, but maybe this will be our Casey Moore's. We really don't have a place like that in North Tempe. I've had different meetings at Rolling Hills, and I've invited people to meet me there, meetings with people from Tempe, and it's amazing how many didn't know it was there. So this, I think, is going to change. I think having the night lighting, the lighting that they're proposing will be great so that people can use the golf course when it's just too dang hot in the summertime. And I want to thank the folks who are proposing this. Jake and them have been very outgoing and talking to community, and I really applaud that. Before I leave, I'd like to tell you how proud I am of all of you for the renaming of the streets in Tempe. I know that that's a really big deal, and it's very important to families who are being affected by that name change, and families, extended families. I want to thank you. I'm very proud to be living in Tempe again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have is Victor Jimenez. Oh, there he is. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. To all the city council members, my name is Victor Jimenez, live in Tempe. I'm a lifelong resident of Victory Acres, La Victoria, appropriately named by the Tipsherini family in the 40s, who subdivided the 80 acres and named all of the streets after family and veterans after the war. I don't want to take any credit away from the Obregon family. He sounds like a great man for doing what he did. But all we're asking is that you recognize a name that is well known in the Victory Acres neighborhood for what was done for the people that bought land in the area back in the 40s. Before this county island, Victory Acres was annexed by Tempe in the 60s, and Laird Street was put in place in the 70s when the redevelopment started. If you were to ask the older generation in our neighborhood who is Pedro Obregon and who the Tipsherinis were, they would probably know more information about the Tipsherinis and the Khalil family. There are several other veteran that names could be placed in our neighborhood that would honor and would be remembered to contributors of the neighborhood. If the city wants to honor and remember the Obregon name, it would be better if you would place it on a park, a gym, a community center, or on the center itself, instead of in a street corner. Thank you, City Council members, for your consideration in this matter. Even though we know the council vote has already been decided and the signs have already been made, since they were already changed before the vote and back again. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Appreciate it. The next speaker is, I apologize if I get this wrong, Samuel Thiel. You got it right. Oh, perfect. All right. Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Samuel Thiel. I live in Daly Park in one of the areas that's going to be directly impacted by the Apache upzoning, and I wanted to say that I am staunchly in support of it. I am kind of frankly saddened by a lot of what I can only assume are my neighbors that don't want new neighbors and that are trying to kind of hold, they're trying to hold what they see as a set culture in place. And they don't want anyone new coming in. And I've lived in Tempe for the last 6 years, and I love it here. And I want more neighbors. I want more people to come into my community and to change it, because that's why I see the beauty in Tempe, is that this is a young and vibrant community of people. And if we don't build more housing, we won't have room for anyone who is coming in and who's going to change things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The last card I have is from Emma Moreno. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Emma Moreno, and I live on Laird Street. My question is, why the change of name? I don't see the reason for changing that name. It's just a name. And we weren't even aware that they had bad connotations, you know. I just want to know that.
Are we? I guess I'll turn to Mr. Chang. I guess since I know you led the working group with community members, I think about 20 plus people. So maybe you can kind of give a synopsis to Ms. Moreno.
Sure, be happy to. So in October of 2021, excuse me, the City Council met in work study session to decide whether or not to change the names. There was quite a bit of public input. There was presentations from our History Museum staff. And at that time, the decision was made to change the names on those designated areas, including Laird Street, a couple other streets, and some city parks, 3 city parks. At that time, council also created an ad hoc committee, a renaming committee. I was asked to chair that committee, and I did, starting in October of this year, or excuse me, 2022. We met 4 times. We got a tremendous amount of public input as to replacement names or for renaming. Those are the names, the ones that rose to the preference level of the committee are the ones that were presented to council. And at the work study session on, I believe it was February the 2nd, council directed that the renaming be put on today's council meeting as a resolution for adoption. So this went through that specific process, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I was going to ask you really quickly, Andrew, could you just one other quick thing. Can you talk about kind of why the names were selected to be changed? What about those names was found through some of our Tempe History Museum historians? Because I think that was one of the questions that Ms. Moreno, I think, was asking, I
Sure.
believe.
So the names, the current names, after the research was concluded, it was determined that the individuals who those parks and streets were named for were members of the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s. And that information was provided to council. And council's direction was that rather than having those facilities continue to be named for people who were members of the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s, that we convene, or that they convene, this ad hoc committee to find other names. When the committee met last year, the decision was made to emphasize what were referred to as restorative names. In other words, individuals and families that made significant contributions to the city of Tempe throughout its history, and that were significantly underrepresented in years past. So that was one of the guiding principles of the committee's work.
Well, I looked up the name Laird. There's a lot of people that have, they're not racist. And in fact, one of them is an author, an anthropologist that lived here in Arizona. That was her and her husband were seeking to find out more about the Native Americans that we have in the south of Arizona. A name, if that's the case, because it had a K whatever, that's not a good reason. Do you know how much burden that'll put on us, especially elderly people like myself? Wills, license, insurances, that's just to name a few. That's a big burden, and none of the people on our street, because there's other Lairds on our street, had any idea that this was a name that was brought up with negative connotations. I would like to state that, you know, I was raised here in Arizona. We live in Victory Acres, and we've always been happy with the names that they've given us. We never thought about anything bad or negative about any of the names. Because the name, there are probably other names that have been really bad, and you see them on other streets. Please do not change the name on our street. This is from the family that live in the neighborhood, in our neighborhood. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the last speaker card that I have. Is there anyone else in the audience tonight wishing to address the City Council? If so, please get my attention. Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close that portion. I'm going to move forward to item number 7 then, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated as public hearing item at the beginning of the item title. Council members may remove any item for separate consideration or to declare a conflict of interest. If a council member would like to declare a conflict at this time, the city clerk will provide the council member with the disclosure form. If you wish to speak on a public hearing item, please fill out a speaker card and submit your completed card to the city clerk prior to the agenda item coming forward for council discussion. I will call your name when it is your turn for public comment. The consent agenda this evening is listed as miscellaneous items 7A1 through 7A5, awards of bids and contracts items 7B1 through 7B3, and resolutions items 7C1 through 7C5. Once again, any item designated as public hearing item can be removed by a member of the public for separate consideration. If anyone would like to have a public hearing item removed, please get my attention now. All right, seeing none, I'll go to our clerk. Were there any comments from the public wishing to address the City Council on a consent agenda public hearing item?
No additional cards.
Okay, sounds good. Councilmember Chin, I know you wanted to remove 7C4 for separate consideration. Is there any other item that council members would like to have removed for separate consideration? Okay. Hearing none, then I will look for a motion to approve miscellaneous items 7A1 through 7A5, awards of bids and contracts 7B1 through 7B3, and resolutions items 7C1 through 7C5 with the exception of item 7C4, which is being pulled for separate consideration.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hodge, and seconded by Councilmember Chin. Okay. All right. Please vote.
Or not. Yes.
Okay. And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Yes, Councilmember Navarre.
7C1 you said was pulled or not pulled?
7C4.
Okay. So in regards to 7C1, I know that we last meeting, because of name changes, because of neighbors and elderly having to deal with changing variety of things, are we reaching out and are we going to be helping individual people as needed to get through this process?
I guess, Mr. City Manager, I'll turn to you.
Right. The short answer is yes, absolutely. We are going to be updating our website to include information. We're going to be sending out information to the affected neighborhoods. We've already sent cards to those addresses. We are going to reimburse costs for people who are burdened by the name changes, et cetera. So we have a whole host of different outreach and cost reimbursement information that we're going to have, and that will be something that these neighbors will be able to avail themselves of. Absolutely.
And the reason why I say that, I know there's probably going to be some people that and my question is, I think that's fine, but just to have a personal touch of someone to actually help guide individuals that might be on their own to get the right documents changed, to get the right process changed. That's my biggest concern is though there's going to be certain individuals on those streets that are going to need some probably personal help.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll keep that in mind, and we'll continue to work on what's the best way to make sure that everyone knows what's going to be available to help us with this transition and to get that information out in whatever the best way is so that they will know.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, thank you. Next up is item 7C4, which is to adopt a resolution to accept and disperse a grant from the State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance Company on sustainability programs to mitigate the negative effects of extreme heat. Councilmember Chin wanted that removed.
Thank you, Mayor. I simply wanted it removed to highlight it. The State Farm Insurance Company, in honor of their 100th anniversary, awarded a total of $2 million in grants, the Century of Good grants, to support projects focused on a range of community-specific environmental priorities. Our City of Tempe Sustainability and Resilience Office secured $500,000. Dramatic pause. And this was in an effort to support and mitigate negative effects of extreme heat in Tempe for our residents. The first project that will be using the State Farm funding will be on April 1st, which is a planting of over 100 trees at public parks and schools. Wanted to highlight this as a great example of private sector support for a community-wide initiative that's so important. So thank you, and I submit this for approval.
Great. It's been moved by Councilmember Chin and seconded by Councilmember Garland. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Next up, we have item number 8, the non-consent agenda. All items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Council members who may have a conflict of interest may abstain from voting on a matter, and the city clerk will provide the council members with a disclosure form. First item under this section is 8A1, which is to approve the fiscal year 2021-22 financial reporting package and audit reports submitted by the city's external auditors, Heinfield Meach & Company, P.C. Lisette, how are you?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item is a new requirement by state law that was enacted as part of the 2021 legislative session. We are now required to present the results of the financial statement audit to the City Council, and the City Council must take an action via vote to accept the audit. I won't get ahead of the presentation, but I will tell you that we did have a very good audit this year, and I want to thank the accounting team, especially Natalie Winger, our interim controller, for all their hard work and the many hours they spent on getting the financial statements completed. Our external auditors this year is Heinfield and Meach, and Ms. Brittany Williams right here is the engagement partner for the audit. She'll be leading the presentation tonight, and the presentation you'll see tonight is exactly the same presentation that was presented at the last audit committee meeting, which was last week. And with that, I'll turn over the presentation to Ms. Williams.
Thanks, Lisette. Good evening, Mayor Woods, members of council, City Manager Ching. It's nice to see you all again. Thanks for having me. As Lisette mentioned, we did review all of the audit reports for the year with the audit committee last week, and we touch base with them periodically, bi-monthly, about the status of the audit, and so they're able to kind of dig in deeper. So I'll keep it very high level tonight and open it up for any questions that you may have. As Lisette mentioned, my name is Brittany Williams. I'm the engagement partner for the City of Tempe, and Josh Jumper has been your audit manager for the last several years as well. There's several standards that guide the audit that we perform on an annual basis. We do several different audits, the financial statement audit, the single audit, which is the federal awards audit. So these are the different standards that we have to abide by. They govern our auditing standards, the federal compliance requirements, financial reporting, and very specific things specific to government audits. I won't go into any more detail on that unless you want to know. This is our independent auditor's report that we issued on the financial statements, the ACFR, and all I can tell you about the report is that we issued a clean opinion. We found no material misstatements and everything looked really good. These are all of the various audit reports that we issued. I issue an audit communication directly to those charged with governance, specifically the audit committee, along with our independent auditor's report with the annual comprehensive financial report. We also issue the Highway User Revenue Funds report, which just says you're in compliance with the Arizona statutes on highway user revenue funds and spending of those. The single audit reporting package, which is the expenditure of the federal awards for the city, of which there are many. We still have a few reports outstanding this year that we're waiting on. We just actually got the annual expenditure limitation report today, so I'll be reviewing that next week, so you'll have it soon. And then we have the HUD React certification housing fund report and biannual impact fees AUP report still to come. The single audit reporting package is a really key place to look if you want to know the results of the audit. It has a few different reports, and I'll just show you this summary page here that gives you a great synopsis of the results of all the audits this year. All the way down, you can just see that we issued unmodified opinions on the financial statements and the federal compliance audit, which means a clean opinion, and there were no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses, no issues of non-compliance. So everything looked good. This is as good as it gets for this type of a report. Very clean, as Lisette said. It was a great audit year, and everybody worked really, really hard to get everything done. You can see the federal grants that we tested there this year. Of course, the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds are on there because they were huge, and the feds required us to test them everywhere. If you want to know a little bit more about our firm, here's our website. And we hope to see you next year. I would like to open it up for any questions that you might have for me tonight.
Sounds good. Councilmember Garland?
I don't have a question. I just want to say, Councilmember Hodge and I sit on the audit committee, and we did get the completely thorough background audit report that you were being spared from. There's a lot of number detail in there, but you guys have done an excellent job, and this is the second time I've been through this with you, and I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate your level of detail. And I am so proud of the city of Tempe that we keep getting those really high marks. And you mentioned it as that you work with a lot of other companies and that we are doing really, really great. And I just want to say thank you to everybody here. And the fact that, of all things, Bill Green's not here, but I was walking through the Senate cafeteria and I ran into him in DC yesterday. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen him in person. I've only seen him on Zoom. So it was the funniest thing yesterday.
Each other on the other side of the country.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Councilmember Hodge?
All I want to say is thank you. It was easy to follow, being my first time doing one. So thank you for the city. I've done it before, but for the city. So thank you so much, and you did a phenomenal job.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else, council, any further comments or questions? If not, I'll look for a motion on item 8A1. It's been moved by Councilmember Navarro.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote.
Mine's coming.
Mine won't go, so aye.
Let's see. So I got an aye from Vice Mayor Adams, aye from Councilmember Navarro, aye from Councilmember Hodge. And that would be it then. That item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Next item under the section is 8A2, which is to approve an increase to the contract amount with Applied LNG Technologies, LLC, for the supply of liquefied natural gas to support the city's transit and fleet operations. Council, any comments or discussion?
Move to approve.
It's been moved by Councilmember Garland, seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote. Vice Mayor Adams?
Aye.
Oh, thank you very much. That item is approved 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. The last item under the section is 8A3, which is to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement with Valley Metro Rail Incorporated and the City of Mesa for VMR to perform the Rio East Dobson Extension Alternatives Analysis Study. Council, any comments or discussion?
So moved.
Been moved by Councilmember Hodge. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Okay. I'll take that as an aye from Vice Mayor Adams. Everyone else vote?
Yes. Gesundheit.
All right. And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. The next section on the non-consent agenda is ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no votes will be taken. The second hearing and vote for these items is scheduled for March 16th, 2023. The first item under this section is 8B1, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt a resolution authorizing a general plan land use map amendment from residential to mixed use and general plan density map amendments from medium density and cultural resource area to high density, and from cultural resource area to medium to high density, and adopted ordinance for zoning map amendments from CSS TOD and R16 to MU4 TOD PAD, and from R16 to R1 PAD, and a new planned area development overlay to establish development standards for La Victoria Commons, located at 2320 East Apache Boulevard, for a new affordable 19-unit single-family residential and 104-unit mixed-use development with ground floor commercial uses along East Apache Boulevard. The applicant is Sender Associates Chartered. Ms. Sender, since this is the first hearing, would you like to give a presentation to us? And I just wanted to note earlier too, I know one of the speakers talked about the an issue from an affordable housing standpoint. The 19 units are going to be for sale units that will be affordable through Newtown Community Development Corporation. The additional units that we're talking about are going to be affordable rentals, so the entirety of this project would be affordable. And this is not a situation of the council saying, trying to limit the development in this area. It really comes back to what the developer feels that they can actually accomplish given their funding and the project that they feel comfortable pulling off. It was not a situation of the council saying we don't want the project to be more units or we want it to be less. It really is about what Copa Health and what Ms. Sender are going to tell us is their proposal to really transform that site. So with that said, I will turn it over to you, Ms. Sender.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very well said. I appreciate that. Darren Sender, Sender Associates in Tempe, 464 South Farmer. And I am here with Norm Duvet with Copa Health. So I'll give a brief introduction. Norm can explain a little bit more about Copa, what the project kind of looks like, and then I'll get into the details. And by the way, that language on the screen was Ryan's fault. All right. There it is. Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay, so this is La Victoria Commons, and again, well, our development team, they always want to be acknowledged on projects, so we've got a great team with us. This project is located, again, on the east of the northeast corner of Apache Boulevard and Price Road, directly adjacent to and on a light rail station, the Apache station, and really takes into account a lot of the TOD principles and policies that the city has drawn up for these areas. So I'll get into that a little bit more, but I will have Norm explain a little bit about what COPA is, what we're proposing on the property, how it's all going to work, and then I'll get into the nitty-gritty details.
Well, thank you, Darren.
Yeah.
Mayor Woods, council members, hello. I hope you're all doing well. Copa Health is an organization that's been around since 1957. We serve people with various diagnosed conditions, developmental intellectual disabilities, autism, behavioral health issues, substance use, and people with serious mental illness. And as the organization has grown, we've realized that you can't serve just one aspect of a person, so you have to serve the whole person. And we've expanded the services that we provide for all the members that we have. And the people that we serve, we do call members. So you can see their Copa Health staff is dedicated to providing world-class educational, therapeutic, and rehabilitative and social services to children and adults with developmental, physical, and behavioral challenges. I don't read as well as Mayor Woods, but our mission statement, and I was part of the executive team that put together this mission statement, and actually we call it a purpose statement, and we really struggled with it, but we were very aspirational when we put it together. We inspire health, hope, and happiness by delivering world-class solutions and to individuals, families, and communities. And one of the things I've realized in the 4 years since we've created this purpose statement is many of the programs that we have are world-class, and some of them will be integrated into this project. Now, overall, the organization, the individuals that we serve, we cover basically 4 big areas. Now, we can break them out further, but one is employment-related services. We have, and I've worked in employment-related services in other parts of the country, Wisconsin and Des Moines. We have what I believe is the best employment-related services, vocational services in the United States. We have great relationships with a lot of the spring training teams. We have a great relationship with Boeing. Boeing wants us to move into other states with them. Not so easy to do until you can figure out how you're going to pay for it. And we run restaurants. We have people working in all kinds of different businesses. We have fantastic day programs. Once again, these are for individuals who have anywhere from a severe developmental and intellectual disability coupled with maybe a physical disability, up to individuals who might have a serious mental illness, but they need some place to go and work on skills such as socialization, learning computer skills, getting comfortable in the community, and once again, looking at the possibilities of continuing their education or employment. We have a very robust residential services. The interesting thing is we serve people in about 40 group homes, and these are homes that have 4 to 5 individuals in them with various levels of services. We own a couple of apartment complexes that are in the far East Valley still in Mesa in the Far East Valley. We have another one. We own some townhomes. But all of those cases are basically individuals that we're serving are occupying them. And that's what might be a little bit different about the La Victoria Commons. And then integrated health. And we call it integrated health because for years we worked with people who had diagnosed behavioral health issues, mental health issues, possibly substance use. And we realized after a certain point that we had to also have primary care. We had to have nursing, in addition to psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists, and we now have primary care doctors, nurses. We have pharmacies in all of our clinics, and we're very robust in the goal that we have of serving the whole person. Now, not every person that comes to our clinics also gets all the wraparound services with employment or day programs, and especially residential, because we don't have enough residential sites. So La Victoria Commons, for the apartment complex, what we're looking at is 104 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. And we took a really strong look at how we would make this up. Now, 30% of them are going to be designated for COPA Health members. And that basically means people that are eligible for vouchers through various organizations. A lot of these will be through the Regional Behavioral Health Authority, which I'm not sure if everybody knows is Mercy Care right now. And the rest will be 70% unit income based. And we're looking at 60% area medium income. When we talk about the mixed use too, and we talk about the commercial space, people have to realize we're not talking about putting in a Starbucks or a Gap. We're talking about a COPA Health clinic to serve the members that are living in the apartment complex, to serve the members that are able to get there from other sites, but also to serve everybody else that lives in the apartment complex and the surrounding area. We've worked really hard with the La Victoria neighborhood to get their input and their ideas about what might help the neighborhood. So I want to make sure that that's clear, that the clinic, we do envision it being there for everybody. The Copa Cafe, so we do run restaurants. We have a cookie company. These are all member run. These are people that I probably should have brought too much of cookies. I'm sorry.
Next time.
Yes,
there is one more hearing, so.
Yes. And I want to give a shout out to the Center for Rehabilitation, because one of the ways that we got into the restaurant business and the food service business is by partnering with them many years ago on a project over at Banner Training. It used to be the Lutheran Hospital. And now we have a commercial kitchen for the cookies. We run a restaurant out at Leisure World. We have a lot of people that go out into the community and work in the restaurant arena. We have people, serving food at a lot of the spring training and ASU games. And there's nothing like when you run into somebody and they just get their food handler's card. They're so excited about what it's going to open up to them. So the restaurant here, we will have a COPA Health employee or two. They're going to be part of it, but everything there is going to be run by members, and it's going to be so that they can train to go out in the community and get competitive employment. We've had a lot of success with that program. In addition, we are also going to include a community space, and this is simply for the people who live in the apartment complex, people that live in the townhomes, and people in the neighborhood, that if they have a gathering that they want to have, whether it's a community meeting, it could be a quinceañera, it could be a birthday party, and they just don't think they have enough space. We're going to make sure that they're going to be able to have access to this too. We're going to use technology to be able to make sure that they can reserve it and get in there. And then also the services, and it's very important that everybody understands that most LIHTC or low-income housing tax credit applications include a services component. With ours, we believe that in addition to the training at the restaurant and the clinic, we're going to be looking at in-home supports, navigation services. And navigation services, a lot of people don't realize, are so important because there's so many people out there that don't realize what's available to them, what benefits are available to them. And then obviously we're going to try to make sure that any other services that complement these are going to be available too. Now, in the Newtown portion, and this is something else that's new, and it's actually given us a lot of hurdles that we have to get by when we're putting together the LIHTC application. And by the way, the low-income housing tax credit application is about this thick, and I wish I was joking. But the partnership that we have with Newtown is going to allow for people to actually purchased these townhomes. And the interesting thing is, during our public meeting a while back, we had some members of the neighborhood come, and one woman actually came up to us and introduced herself and said that she was so excited about this because one of the first things that she noticed was the first home that she ever owned was purchased through Newtown. And she liked the fact that her sons, her daughters, the people that are growing up will be able to not only get maybe affordable rentals in the neighborhood, be able to see how they can move into home ownership. When we were designing this and working with the neighborhood, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a behemoth of an apartment complex right up against single-family homes. So we were graduating them down so that right on MacArthur, so it's going to go from the 5-story apartment complex to the 2-story townhomes right into single stories that are going to be on the street, so it will fit in the neighborhood better. We're very excited about all aspects of our partnership with Newtown. This is the timeline. I'm not going to run through it completely because I want to give Darren a little bit of time. But for the most part, we are hoping to break ground on this January next year, 2024, with it opening up in the fall of 2025. And one other thing I want to mention, because this is Copa Health's first effort to go out and have people who aren't our members in a residential setting. We're going to have this open. We hear so much about people who love what they do. They might be teachers, they might be nurses, they might be working at organizations like Copa Health or the Center for Rehabilitation or Tempe Action Committee, but they can't afford to continue doing that work because they don't have the ability to have affordable housing. So we often are approached by organizations, teachers organizations, other organizations that ask us, is there something you can do? And this is our first step towards doing that.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Norm. That was awesome. All right. Okay, so La Victoria Commons, and we didn't talk about La Victoria either, the name. That was actually something championed by Norm. That we wanted that connection with the neighborhood, and naming the project after the neighborhood was a big part of that, and it was very important to do that. So La Victoria Commons is an affordable housing project combining the expertise of Newtown, which I'm sure all of you know, providing for-sale homes, and Copa Health providing integrated health care and housing to be developed pursuant to the RFQ 22090 on city-owned land directly adjacent to McClintock Apache Light Rail Station. The developers of this one-of-a-kind project spent nearly a year, and probably more now, conducting neighborhood outreach with Rail CDC within the La Victoria Victory Acres neighborhoods, resulting in the project name. And it came up with a lot of great ideas, too, one of which was the pedestrian pathway. Talk about that a little bit later, but it allows the neighborhood to actually get to the light rail station. Very difficult right now. There's fencing up. You have to go all the way around. It's very, very far. And also the graduated intensity and height that follows from MacArthur all the way to Apache Boulevard. All of this, and probably a lot more that I'm missing here, was gleaned directly from those Rail CDC meetings. Here's a location. Again, it's directly on the cross pathway, the pedestrian pathway to the light rail station. So it's directly on there. Again, just east of Price Road and just west of Esker Park, north of the Park and Ride, which you can see on there as well. As you can see also, pretty much everything west of the park and the U-Haul is pretty much vacant. Been that way for quite a while. This used to be mobile home park, I believe. Possibly some RV usage in there for quite a while, but I don't recall what year it was ended, that use. I don't know what year that was, but vast majority of this area in this location is vacant. So the project requests, I know it looks like a lot, but what we're trying to do is there's an existing split about halfway down the property today with zoning and general plan. So when we make any little changes, we've got to like identify exactly where we're changing and what we're changing. So the zoning change, we have to identify exactly what parts we're changing, and the general plan as well. So the general plan, the first general plan amendment listed is from residential to mixed use, and you can kind of see it's 0.31 acres. It's that little part in the middle on the map on the right. It's just that little bit. So basically, we're just moving it up a tad, and that's just for the COPA project. As you can see, the vast majority of land along light rail, which goes along with TOD principles, is mixed use. Light rail was instituted in Tempe and Phoenix with the idea that we've got to have people living along light rail. We need that density. That's a TOD principle that will either save or eliminate light rail. The more density, the more people you have using the light rail, obviously on the light rail is the best thing for it. So most of this area is designated for mixed use, which is the gray color. We're just sort of moving that up a tad because COPA is going to take that portion of the property. The next request is from a medium density up to 15 and cultural resource area to a higher density. That is the portion there to the little south portion. So we're taking a small portion for that COPA project again and making that a little bit higher density. And then for the new town, we have to take a little portion of that and increase the density a little bit. We did everything we could, and we worked with staff who did everything they could to keep the zoning and the density as low as possible on both of these sites. We could have just went, MU4, done. And we didn't do that. We wanted to respect the neighborhood. We wanted to respect the existing zoning and the existing density, mainly on that north side, because we wanted to create that transition. We didn't want to, as Norm said, just put a giant behemoth up next to the neighborhood. The next general plan amendment is from cultural resource area to medium to high density. This is the north part for the Newtown site. So we tried everything we could to get that to stay at the 15 DUA where it is today. And we just couldn't. The 19 units and the size of the property, we were trying to push the property line and squeeze COPA a little bit. Did everything we could, so we just bounced it up to the very next designation. So it just went up a little tiny bit, and that's what that request is for. That's for the Newtown portion. And then the zoning requests are from the CSS TOD on the COPA site on the south side to MU4 TOD PAD, and then from the R16 in the center, little sliver in the center, to the MU4 TOD PAD again for the COPA site. For approximately the 0.31 acres. And then we had to rezone the R16 to R1 PAD. So we stayed at R1. We didn't want to go to R3, R4, R5. We stayed down as low as we could with the R1 PAD for the Newtown site on the north side. And I know that's a lot of little changes, but it's because we're moving lines and there's two separate parcels here. So the northern parcel is called Lot 2 with Newtown. The southern parcel for COPA is called Lot 1. Neighborhood outreach, again, pretty extensive. They started over a year ago with Rail CDC leading the charge. Outreach, meetings, all kinds of information, identified key stakeholders and issues. They, again, created the name La Victoria Commons. That was something that came out of it, and the pedestrian pathways and intensity and height. We had our formal neighborhood meeting on January 11th at Apache ASL Trails right down the street. We had 6 neighbors, including some residents, neighboring property owners, and CVAC members were at that meeting, including Phil Amorosi. We had 7 development team members there. We had our architects there. We were there. The client was there. Everybody there ready to answer questions. Meeting went very, very well, which ultimately resulted in a letter of support from CVAC from Phil, which is a pretty monumental thing. We were very proud of that. Phil takes this very seriously, as he should, and he's been part of this for forever, part of the Apache area. So that was really pretty amazing to hear. So that letter of support is in your packets as well as in this presentation. Includes Hudson Manor, University Heights, Borton Homes, Alegre, Escalante neighborhood, and Kyle Deli from Hudson Eatery as well. And also not required, we're going to be hosting another formal neighborhood meeting for the upcoming DPR. And this is a good time to explain that all of that language we just went over about the zoning and planning in GP entitlements, we are putting our DPR package, our pretty design package, for later pursuant to the city's resolution that allows that to happen. So we'll be coming back in with the DPR, so all the pretty pictures and everything. And we've got some amazing early renderings that we can kind of show you about that. Here's a letter from Phil. You can read it in your packets. So here's the general site plan that we have. MacArthur's on the north, Apache on the south, of course, right on the light rail station. Vacant, kind of pretty much on east-west. There's a little bit of commercial along Apache there. And then MacArthur to the north, that's where the single-family neighborhood is. That's La Victoria there. What we've done is Newtown is on the north, Lot 2, where they have 4 single-story, single-family homes directly facing onto MacArthur. Then just south of that, we have the townhomes. Townhomes are 2 stories, very similar to the microstates product that Newtown has done. Excuse me. And again, owner occupied. These will be ownership opportunities for people. On the southern side of the site, which is Lot 1, this is where the Copa building is. And you can see it faces, it borders right on Apache. It's very well away from MacArthur where the neighborhood is, and really just complements all the TOD principles of having an intensity on the light rail, having a transition from the neighborhood, a buffering from the neighborhood. It really follows all those principles. In addition, you can see in the middle, there's a pathway. You can kind of see the drive aisle there. Generally, the pathway through the site will allow residents to go through our site. There's no gates. It's not closed. They can come through, grab a cookie, a sandwich, some coffee, jump on light rail, and go through their day. Otherwise, they'd have to walk pretty far away because you can't really get through anything east or west in this area. These are some conceptual drawings. Todd Associates is the architect. I think they've done a great job. Conceptual western elevation of the Copa property. You can see it's a 5/2, 5/1 in this case. So we've got the commercial on the right side there along the light rail, parking underneath, and then the residential above. Another elevation, some side elevations. And then this is a rendering that they've come up with. Pretty amazing. So here's the building's actually in context a little bit better. You can see there's a little almost a backward C shape of the building. You can see in the middle. I forgot to mention that there's that's where the lawn and the play area is for the families. It's raised up on the podium, so it's away from the cars and the streets and the parking lot. It's a little respite area, play area, trees, vegetation, landscaping. That's the podium courtyard, and that's kind of in that little C in the middle there. And you can see how we've got our single-family homes, townhomes in the middle, and then the Copa building there up against light rail. You can kind of see it in context. And again, this is from the character area plan, from the Apache character area plan, which we analyzed quite extensively to make sure that we were meeting the requirements of that. Showing the step on the character area plan is virtually identical to kind of what we're proposing here. So that just goes along with the proper TOD standards. Site data, I don't know. There's 19 of the ownership homes on Newtown, 104 residential affordable units on Copa side. So.
All right.
Trying to get through it. I'm sorry. If you have any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Let me go to Councilmember Garland.
I just have to say, I think that this checks all the boxes for me on something that I really want to see in the city. I'll just start off by saying that I love the stair step to the buildings from the neighborhood going up. I love the fact that you're going to allow the neighborhood to pass through. I've been in that neighborhood many times working with the community on people that were camping in the parks. I have been down those streets many times, and it will be nice for them to be able to cut through and be able to get the restaurant, get the cookies. I love the open space that you're going to allow the neighborhood to use if they need to use that. Again, you're making this project, this development, welcoming into the community and not being exclusive. You're being inclusive, and I really like that a lot. I like the community outreach that you've already done. I think that's really important. I think that you're right, the density on the light rail is where we want and what we want to have to make that active in that area. So I just want to say I love what Copa Health is going to be doing. I think everything that they're going to be pulling into that area is what we need. And I think in one of the discussions when we were talking about the clinic, that you're going to have there, that it was going to be open to everyone.
That's the intent.
And I
yes.
think that, again, is another really wonderful thing to have down there when it's hard to get to clinics and other areas. And again, it's such a great location, and I'm so impressed with this property. It's one of the ones that every time I look at this and I was reading the information about it, it just made me smile, because this just makes me really happy. So I just want to say thank you so much. And I love the fact that you're using the character area background on this. That was the character areas. Yes, I've read through that, and I love that fact. But you guys have done a great job, and I think with COPA Health, with what you're doing, Corey and I sat on the Newtown board. We know what Newtown can do, as somebody was mentioning earlier, trying to get people into homes ownership instead of renting. This is exactly what Newtown development is all about. It's helping people get into homes. And so having the fact that you guys are partnering with them also, again, is wonderful. So thank you so very much for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Councilmember DeBar?
Thank you, Mayor. When it comes down to the services, are the services going to be or will there be some coordination between our services, Tempe and Care 7? Do we have any talks on that? When we talk about holistic effort within our community, we want to make sure that we're connected also. And
Yeah, actually, one of the things that we do in our Navigator program anyway.
Perfect.
And we run a Navigator program right now out of Paz de Cristo. We have a group that works with the mental health courts all over the valley. But one of the things that we do is we reach out to other groups in the neighborhood because we want to make sure there's a coordination of services, especially with Navigators. We can't help them if we don't know the services that are out there.
Right.
Not everybody's going to be able to take advantage of the services that we have at COPA Health. Thank God that not everybody needs, that intensive of a care, but our navigators are really connected with others in the community, other organizations in the community. So yes, that's a long way to say yes.
Yeah.
I can make it longer, but I'll just.
And then the services are just a more or less 9 to 5 type of services. Or the clinic, I'm sorry.
The clinic is going to be probably 9 to 5, 8 to 5. But we also work very closely with, organizations like Solari or, crisis groups. And we at COPA Health have a crisis group to serve a lot of the people that are already our members. But we also are going to make sure that, people have access to online access if they need something and it's off hours, not just as part of the property management, but as part of the services that we're going to be providing.
It's not a congregated hangout.
No.
Perfect.
No.
And then when we talk about the security of the area, lighting, is it gated with the vehicles, all that stuff? Are you going to have security?
So we will not necessarily have security personnel, but we are going to have cameras. We're going to have access by using technology, whether it's the key fobs or not, and we're very familiar with that. Most of our locations, other than our group homes, use key fobs so we can tell who's coming and going. And that's one of the ways that we're going to be able to allow the neighborhood to use some of these facilities, especially the community room and whatnot, because we will just issue them a key fob for the time that will allow them to get in there, and we'll know who comes and who goes. It's been a discussion in the planning with our architect and our service providers. Understand that COPA Health has 3 vice presidents who cover most of these areas, and all 3 of them have been involved in the planning of the community area and the services that are going to be provided.
Cool. Looks good.
Sounds good. Thank you. Councilmember Hodge?
First off, thank you for your very thorough presentation on that point. My question is, when you talk about COPA, are you talking about, do you have a way of connecting it to the community? Will people know about it? Because it's great to have something out there, but if people don't know about the services that are there, how are you guys going to reach the Tempe community?
Well, most of the services that we provide to people who aren't referred to us through access, whether it's the Division of Developmental Disabilities or the Regional Behavioral Health Authority, come through either because they have sought us out online or they've worked with others that we have partnered with And the example that keeps coming in my head tonight, I don't know why, is Paz de Cristo. So people will often go to Paz de Cristo. They'll meet with one of our navigators. They'll learn about all the other things that we have available, and we will, connect with them that way. And one of the interesting things about it, people who may not be eligible for our services may be interested in employment, and we have a very robust offering of employment opportunities for people that are out there in the community. Once again, when we first talking about this program, and I'm not going to say, which group, but we had a teachers organization come to us and say, we hear what you might be doing in Tempe. How about teachers? And, we just know that there's a need out there.
That was my next question, is how connected are you to the education community? I'm always going to ask that question. It would be great if you kind of gave some information to put on the websites of the school districts around that if they need help also. And my last question is there a dog park? Because I know Vice Mayor, I don't know where she's at, but I'm surprised she hasn't asked that question yet. But is there a dog park going to be there?
I don't know. It's been batted back and forth. Esker Park is right up there, and we've got a lot of the community meetings at Esker. I know the folks from Rail CDC have had them there. On the podium, in the courtyard area on the podium, obviously we are not going to restrict families to not have animals, so I'm sure that there will be dogs there, but I don't think there will be necessarily a dog park set up immediately for people who are not part of the rental community or the townhomes to come and bring their dogs. Yes, but for the members, yes. And if you want to bring your dog, I will make sure that you have access.
Okay, that's always a plus. All right, thank you so much.
By the way, I saw you at the on Center Ice the other night, and I don't think you saw me waving, but
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Council, any other comments? I'll just say very quickly, I think this is wonderful. Norm, it's good to see you again. Darren, always good to see you. And this really gets to a lot of what I know this council's really wanted to accomplish for quite some time. When you're talking about 104 affordable rentals and 19 for sale affordable units as well, I think it's a great balance between both rental and home ownership, because some people are ready for home ownership and some people frankly are not. With interest rates being where they are and sort of the rising costs of rent, this kind of housing type is really desperately needed. And I think we need to have a variety of different housing types for people of all different backgrounds in the city of Tempe. So I think this is absolutely perfect. I love the fact that you're also including a lot of the wraparound services there on the ground floor for not just the people who are staying at the complex or in the homes, but obviously as well people in the neighborhood. So it truly is a neighborhood asset. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. And so I'm just really excited to see this. I mean, one of the things, I know I'll probably talk about this a little bit later too, but we've heard these quotes about, from the Arizona Department of Housing about being 270,000 housing units short in the state of Arizona. Maricopa County is the fastest growing county population-wise in the entire country. And while we might only be, 40 or 42 square miles, I mean, we do need more housing in this community to really house people from all different backgrounds and income levels. I've sat down with 2 out of our 3 school superintendents who've had conversations with me and said, Corey, our teachers are getting priced out of this community. The people who are teaching our kids how to read and write and do math don't have the ability to live here anymore due to the skyrocketing cost of housing. I talk to people many times working at the hotels, a lot of the general managers in and around the downtown who say the people who are making the beds, the folks who are serving the food, the people who are cleaning the place, they don't have the ability to live here anymore. And I just think that's a shame. And we have to do everything we can to continue to make a dent, because anyone who's working an honest jobs work, 30, 40 hours a week and putting in their time here deserves to have the ability to live and play in this community and not be spending more than 30% of their take-home income on rent or a mortgage. It's just unsustainable for so many people. And so this project is really getting at exactly, I know, what this council has advocated for quite some time with our Hometown for All initiative. So I'm just really glad to see this come to fruition. I think it's a very great, well thought out, high quality project, and I can't wait to see it happen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and obviously thanks to the council as well. This is something that's an amazing vision that you've had. The Hometown for All, incredible program that you created, and quite frankly, the leadership you've provided for affordable housing in Tempe is unparalleled in Arizona right now. We're doing a lot of projects out there, and it's pretty amazing what you've done here. So, thank you, and hats off to all of you as well, and staff. They've got the memo. Very, very, very helpful. Everyone in planning and building safety, we just want to applaud their assistance as well.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. I will open the public hearing portion here and see if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council on this item. If so, please get my attention. All right, hearing none, I'll close that portion of the agenda. Council, any additional comments or discussion? All right, seeing none, just want to reiterate, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 16th, 2023. The next item under the section is 8B2, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of a sewer line easement located north of 5th Street and west of Farmer Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Okay, once again, second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 16th, 2023. The last item under this section is 8B3, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of a water line easement located on the north side of Apache Boulevard, east of McClintock Drive. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Seeing none, once again, second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for March 16th, 2023. Next up, we have item 8C, ordinances and items for second hearing and final adoption. These items were read and introduced back on February 16th, 2023. Votes on these items will be taken tonight. The first item under the section is 8C1, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt a resolution for a general plan projected land use map amendment from educational to mixed use on approximately 2 acres, a general plan projected density map amendment from medium to high density for approximately 6.7 acres, and adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from R3 TOD and R4 TOD on approximately 2 acres, from CSS on approximately 1.43 acres, and from CSS TOD on approximately 3.27 acres, to MU4 Mixed Use High Density District, totaling 6.7 acres for Apache Central, located on 1233 East Lemon Street, 1306 East Apache Boulevard, and 1310 East Apache Boulevard. The applicant is the city of Tempe, and no development is being proposed at this time. I see Josh Rutherford up front here. Josh, would you mind coming forward and giving a little presentation on this item, just to kind of provide more public transparency?
Not at all. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This is Apache Central Upzoning Project, again, second hearing. So the same presentation that was provided at the DRC hearing. Oh. I'm sorry, thank you. So like Mayor said, this is a city-initiated upzoning process. The city is the applicant. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, January 13th, 2022, council adopted a resolution to initiate an upzoning process. So this project was chosen for that during that one-year trial period. And it was the original Food City site, the Lemon Lot, and the current Dorsey Park and Ride Lot. So three different lots that were upzoning. That resolution allowed the city to initiate the rezoning, just like a private applicant. We're being treated the same as that. So, and you can thank Ryan again for that long explanation as a previous project. So,
I thank Ryan every day.
Yeah. So the process, the first process, we filed the application just like a normal applicant would. The site's approximately 8 acres. We held a public hearing last year, just like a normal applicant would. The RFP is currently being written right now. We expect that RFP to go out for the project this month. So hopefully any day here. So and that RFP in it, well, we are going to request a mixed-use affordable multifamily to include a ground floor grocer to replace what was there as the Food City. So the neighborhood still has a grocery to go to.
Can I just make a real quick comment about that too? So just, talking about the grocery store, just sort of the genesis of this. In late September of 2021 is when the Food City closed. It was when Bashas' announced that they were being acquired by a California supermarket chain called Rayleigh's. And that's when I got several calls, and I know other council members did at the time, from longtime residents in the neighborhood saying, we've got to figure out something on Apache Boulevard. This is frankly one of our fastest growing corridors in the entire city, with a lot of single family neighborhoods on both the north and the south side, a lot of our sort of historically Latino neighborhoods on the north side. And without the food city here, we're going to be a virtual food desert. And so if the city of Tempe, I wish the city of Tempe could do something about this, because we know if they don't step in and talk about acquiring this property, something that we had never really done before. We never used to spend this kind of money to acquire sites of this size and magnitude. But the concern I know that a lot of the residents had was, if this just goes out onto the private market, it's going to be purchased by a market rate or luxury developer who's going to put in luxury student housing or very high-end housing that's unaffordable to the people living in and along that Apache Boulevard corridor. And we will have zero opportunity at that point to get a food purveyor in there who can actually sell meat and fresh produce, fruits and vegetables for the people living in that community. So the reason why we spent the $10.7 million nearly on this site was really at the request of a lot of the people in the neighborhood and a lot of the neighborhood leadership, who said if the city can actually step in and do something, then they should. And I just want to note that we were able to close on that project in about 3 months. So if whoever says, government doesn't work fast, we absolutely do.
Very fast. Thank you, Mayor. So some of the details in that RFP, again, we were requesting a ground floor grocer to be included in that response to the RFP. Based on some of the feedback we got from the public meeting, and as you've heard tonight, height and density was a concern. And so we met with some of the adjacent neighborhood and some of the chairs, and similar to the last project that presented, the CVAC group also provided a letter of support for this project, and we agreed that the height would not exceed 5 stories, and the unit amount, or the units would not be over 400 units, which we think would still be under that based on the size of the properties.
So it's very possible, Josh, someone could come in with a 4-story, 250-unit complex that will not get anywhere near 5 stories and 400 units. So
Correct.
it's just giving them flexibility.
Yeah, based on required setbacks and that sort of thing from planning and zoning. And again, we don't want to have a project. We're just upzoning the property to make it more appealing to the RFP. And again, really saves any potential developer the process that we basically brought this through. The Dorsey Park and Ride lot that is immediately adjacent to the Food City lot houses our existing Envision Center, which is our Human Services Center. In that RFP, they'll be required to provide infrastructure for solar that will help power that center. So that'll be included in the RFP as well. And then obviously to maximize the transit-oriented development, which it kind of is that by itself. I mean, it's in a really good location for that, very walkable. You have light rail there, bus, bike. So,
can I just make one other quick point? You talked about mixed use in terms of the housing stock. One of the reasons I know, and Josh and I have discussed this at quite some length. I know Maria and Donna and I have talked about this as well. One of the reasons why is because it's very hard, as we know, for a lot of developers to go through the LIHTC or low-income housing tax credit process. They apply for tax credits, then they have to pretty much wait the entire year to see if they're going to get the award from the Arizona Department of Housing, and sometimes they're successful and sometimes they are. This council, I know at one point I think right when I first started, we approved, and Councilmember Garland, we approved a project for art space lofts, which we were very excited about having. They unfortunately went through 2 rounds of trying to get financing for the project and couldn't get it. And so at that point, we ended up having to take the piece of property back to ensure it just wasn't going to sit vacant for an undetermined period of time. So one of the reasons why we talked about allowing for a mixed income project is because if there might be some potential market rate housing that might be incorporated into something a developer might submit for, they'll probably have more access to traditional financing, which means they might not be as reliant on the low-income housing tax credit financing, which might make it more possible for the project to get out of the ground and for the site not to sit dormant. Because for a lot of these projects, if they're always 100% LIHTC funded, that sometimes presents a higher bar and a lot more challenges. But we thought to give this maximum flexibility, if you allow for a mixed income project, not only does it allow for more traditional financing to come into the equation, but it also kind of gets at the concerns people have about all affordable housing, proving that people can live in mixed, in market rate units and affordable units, all in the same complex, and live very comfortably and happily together.
Yeah, and thank you, Mayor. That is definitely something we expect to get from the RFP is a very high mixed use income, with that affordable housing component. This is just a site map showing the different properties. To the top left of the screen is what we call the lemon lot. That was an existing overflow parking for our park and ride, and also it serves parking for the new school immediately west of there. And the developer will have to account for about 100 spaces in their development. And then to the center of the screen, it kind of looks like the Food City lot and the Dorsey Park and Ride lot are married there together. But the Dorsey Park and Ride lot, obviously, we have a substantial amount of parking there that would also have to be incorporated into the proposed development. And then obviously to the right there, you see the existing Food City lot. These are just some photos of the site. Again, lemon lot. This is taken, I think the right photo is taken from the north side, looking south. Food City lot, Food City to the right, Dorsey Park and Ride to the left. You can't really see any delineation between the Envision Center and the Dorsey Park and Ride. They kind of merge together. This is just some site photos of the Food City.
Councilmember DeVar?
Go back. Park and ride, I'm sorry, are you trying to incorporate something with the park and ride with this lot?
The Park and Ride lot is included in the upzoning and will be included in the development.
So potentially we're looking at the whole thing can be developed to a height.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Correct.
Now, not including, I'm sorry, you're going back, but not
Sorry.
including the top north building.
The up in the top left corner, the Envision Center. No, the Envision Center is not part of this upzoning or will be a part of the development at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You can keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay,
My
no
apologies.
worries. No worries. This is a photo of the Dorsey Park and Rides. This is from the west looking east. So the Envision Center would be just to the left of this photo. And some of these two depictions show the current zoning versus what the proposed upzoning would be. We identified the 3 lots on the left. The lemon lot actually had 2 zoning depiction on it, so we're actually kind of cleaning some of that zoning up, and then obviously proposing the higher density on that lot. So, and then the right shows what that future density looks like. On the left, same thing here. Shows the existing zoning designation R3, R4 on that lemon lot, and then CSS on the current Dorsey Park and Ride in the Food City lot. And then the right shows what the proposed density is. And again, it's MU4 65, but with that cap of 5 stories and no more than 400 units. So, density examples in the immediate area, Gracie's Village, obviously just to the. I'm sorry, Councilman.
No, Gracie, we were just talking. Is Gracie's 3 stories or 4?
4 stories. 4 stories.
It's 3 stories, but the 4th story is community.
Yeah.
4 stories. 4 stories overall. So yeah, Gracie's Village, about 2 acres, 4 stories. They currently have about 50 affordable housing units and about 12,000 square feet of retail. The Apollo, which is to the west, about 5 acres, 5 to 8 stories. They step a little bit, a little over 300 units and 55 units of workforce housing, and then about 12,000 square foot of retail as well. And then the Aura on Apache, again, similar in size as the Apollo, about 5 acres, 1 to 4 stories, and then just under 300 units. And that development includes 30 townhomes, and then about 4,700 square feet of co-work space and leasing office. So, and the Mill House project, I think that's currently under construction, but 4.5 acres, again, 4 stories, closer to 200 units, and then 5 live-work units, and then a proposed 600 square foot restaurant. So just a little bit of retail on the bottom there. And these are just some of the examples. Obviously, you see Gracie's there on the left. I believe that's Apollo on the right. So you can see the height on that Apollo, which was some concern of that height. Yeah, I guess it's a little confusing on the 3 and 4 stories for Gracie's. So. And then here we have those other 2 projects that were on the list. Just again, just some renderings to show you what those look like, give you some examples. Project timeline, once the RFP is issued, which we anticipate any day now, it'll be out for 60 days. And we'll see what we get back as proposals for that project. And then once a developer is selected, any proposed development will have to go through any planning process. So the public, mayor, council, you guys get another look at what's going to be proposed there. Obviously, that height and density, the ground floor grocer, we get to review all that and give our opinion on that. So the estimated timeline, once that gets back in, is about 2 to 3 years to start construction. You know how that works. It can vary in that time frame. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Sounds good. Thank you, Josh. Councilmember Navarro?
Thank you, Mayor. So with that timeline going out to an RFP, what incentives, I know that we're putting the money up, we're paying the property. What other incentives do we have in our pocket to give potentially? I mean, is that waiving some sort of, construction? What are you thinking?
It's all up for negotiation, but I mean, I think the initial is because the city owns the land, right? So it'll be a long-term ground lease, which will help that developer propose, the affordable housing and the amount that we want.
So with all that said, obviously this is one of those things. I mean, I went through Gracie's. I think we both did when we first got on, and learning from the neighborhood. Hey, we don't want the height. We don't want to see it. I ride my bike, and I was born and raised behind Lemon, and I was on Lemon and Terrace, so I know the neighborhood very well. But riding a bike, especially on Lemon, you really don't see it that well because the trees are covering it very well. In fact, the irrigated lot properties in some of those locations just did a magnificent job. But the one positive thing they did too was also add trees to that property to help block in the certain types of trees. Is there a possibility that we, as council, obviously we have control on this, but I think that's something that we need to be looking at, especially to the neighbors just right behind it. What do they need in terms of their block wall, the tree canopy? Those things I think would be essential in terms of part of the RFP to have that protection in there. Obviously, this is really a damn if you do, damn if you don't type of thing. I mean, we're trying to provide the grocery store. We're trying to provide affordability. We're trying to provide, other services within that area. But there's also that encroachment onto the neighborhoods, which I truly hear and understand. And just trying to find a little bit of that balance, in there. It gave me some comfort knowing that we can work with the park and ride area to try to alleviate some of the density, push it over to the street side a little bit more, whatever we can to push more of that to the street side and alleviate the backside. However that design comes out and whatever they come up with, and maybe a possible step down to it. But I think some of that canopy is essential, and maybe some of that wall development on those neighbors on the backside of there to help them out with some privacy.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Yeah, we'll definitely take that in consideration and make sure that we keep our eye on those specific details. And obviously our planning and zoning, they have specific requirements for buffers and trees. And if we have an opportunity to increase that, we'll definitely take advantage of it.
Sounds good. Any other council members, additional comments? So just once again reiterating, so obviously there's no project at this time, so clearly that any people who respond, and hopefully there are multiple respondents to the RFP, staff will have the ability to take a look at this and really almost like start from scratch and vet the projects to make sure that it really is a good fit for Apache Boulevard, that it's a good fit for the neighborhood, and as Councilmember Navarro talked about, that it truly is a project that's respectful to what's there in a good way, not in a way that it's dwarfing it or sort of disrespecting the neighborhood in some way, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it has to go through all the same public processes any project goes through. So whatever they propose, we get to provide our feedback. So
sounds good. Okay. Council, anything else before I get to the next part?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Josh. All right. Just want to note to everyone here that this item actually does require 2 votes this evening. And the first one, I need a council majority, which is 5 out of 7. Let me ask Madam City Attorney, since I know Councilmember Keating isn't here this evening, how many votes does this need to pass?
You will still need 5, Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. I always want to make sure to say that for the public for transparency. All right, so the first vote is on the general plan projected land use map amendment and the general plan projected density map amendment. Is there a motion on the resolution authorizing general plan projected land use map amendment and the general plan projected density map amendment?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hodge. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Garland. Please vote.
Aye.
My screen is frozen here. There we go. And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. The second vote here is on the zoning map amendment. This is just a simple majority required for approval. So is there a motion on the ordinance for a zoning map amendment? It's been moved by Councilmember Garland. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Chin. Please vote. And Vice Mayor Adams?
Aye. Aye.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. The last item under this section is 8C2, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a lease agreement and development and disposition agreement with GC Rolling Hills LLC, an Arizona limited liability company, as in grass clippings, for the Rolling Hills Golf Course. I know we got a presentation on this item last time, a pretty extensive presentation. So does the council want another one, or are we good?
No.
Okay. I look, it's my job. I've got to ask. So got to earn my paycheck up here. All right. So I'll open the public hearing and see if there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council. If so, please get my attention. All right. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any additional comments or discussion? Councilmember Garland.
I just have one really quick. I just want to say that this is a project that everybody that comes into the city of Tempe should be looking at, not specifically for golfing for grass clippings, but for what you guys did for the community. You came in with a project that a lot of people were not excited about. You listened to the residents, you listened to the city council, and you tailored it again and brought it back, and you didn't give up. And you did the right thing, and you've got a project now that looks good for all of us. And I just want to say that you're a model of what should be done and how it should be done, and I just want to say that you guys did a wonderful job.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Any other comments, questions?
I do. So move.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Hodge. I have a second by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote.
Aye.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Next up, item number 9, current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. I will call upon the council members for their comments. This evening, I'm going to start with Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give a couple of announcements out. First, we have the Arizona Aloha Festival, free event March 11th and 12th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Great event to be out there. Culture, food, the atmosphere, it's going to be a lot of fun. Tempe Beach Park, go out there and have some fun with that. Next, a little near and dear. So we're getting some live music permit. So Tempe has a long history of supporting live music. Now the city of Tempe is helping the businesses that are hiring musicians to make the permit fees significantly more affordable. Starting today, Tempe businesses may receive a deep discount in hosting live music. The one-time fee is being reduced to $200 now. It was from $1,671 until March 1st, 2024. So we're going to hold it for a whole year. By the reduction, we're hoping to get businesses to hire more musicians. We're hoping to do more entertainment within the city of Tempe, and we're talking about the whole city of Tempe, including the downtown area. Obviously, with the hotels and the whatnot that we're building around town, we really want to embrace the culture. We really want to embrace the scene. So we're doing whatever we can for all those restaurant owners and bar owners to host live music. Here's your opportunity. Please take advantage of that. Next up, this Saturday, over at Corbell Park, which is 7300 South Lakeshore Drive, main cross streets are right there on Lakeshore and Elliott. Going to have a coffee talk about park safety, park improvements, but also talk about development projects, things that are coming on the horizon, even with the big vote or whatnot. So if you guys want to get out there, have a conversation about what's going on in the city, please stop by. Coffee and maybe some donuts, I don't know, might be provided, but just anything to get people out there, really talk about the community and get some input on what is going on. So please attend at 10 a.m. Saturday, March 4th. Thanks, Mayor.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Next up, Vice Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have several announcements this evening. So the city of Tempe is in full bloom for spring registrations for many different activities. For one thing, we have exercise opportunities for boating and numerous sports programs. to enjoy. We also have the arts programs and STEM classes, to just name a few. So please go to tempe.gov/play to find out all of the opportunities you have. The TCAA, the City Annual Fundraiser, is coming up. Join the Tempe Community Action Agency on April 14th through the 17th for our fundraisers. I'm sorry, it's April 14th and it's the 17th annual vicinity fundraiser. We're going to have live music, local food, beer, and wine. And it's still on the early bird schedule, so get your tickets now so you can save some money. It's a really fun event. I've gone for many years, and I highly recommend it. Third, it's the A-Mountain Challenge. We have a 7-week hiking, walking, or running program. The more times you walk up the A-Mountain, the more prizes you will win. So get your shoes on and get hiking up A-Mountain and win lots of prizes. The start time for the event starts March 10th and ends on March 30th. And I understand the council aides are starting a hiking group, which I would love and might join you once in a while. So this is a really fun program. You'll get lots of prizes. The more you hike, the more you lose weight. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Vice Mayor?
did you hear my announcements?
Yeah, no, we did. Was the A-Mountain Challenge your last one?
Yes, that was.
Okay, perfect. Nope, we got them all.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome,
I apologize for the confusion.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next up tonight, I'm going to go to Councilmember Chin.
Play ball. Spring training is back. Our Tempe Zone Anaheim Angels are playing at Tempe Diablo Stadium through the month of March. Tickets are on sale at tempe.gov/Diablo. Make sure you buy your 50/50 raffle tickets. It's all for a good cause. Also, there's a new pace of play rule that you need to pay attention to. That's very interesting. Also, let's flow into the next one. Let's talk water conservation. Tempe offers its water utility customers a free, user-friendly online portal called WaterSmart. I use this. It's very helpful. It helped me detect a leak at my house. I recommend it to everyone who's a water utility customer. Residents and businesses can use WaterSmart. You can monitor your hourly, daily, or monthly water usage. Another reminder that I will be showcasing my read out loud skills taught by Ms. Snedeker in 3rd grade on Thursday, March 9th at 10 a.m. during the Green Theme Story Time at Tempe Public Library. Not for everyone, but it is free and open to all preschool-age children. Finally, I had the honor today of visiting the all fifth graders at Spracali Elementary School. They have a big project. They're designing their own smart city. This is a really cool project that the teachers have implemented at the school. I was very impressed with the 5th graders. They had a lot of creative names for their cities. They had great ideas, great questions. Some of the names of the cities: Muppet City, Hogville, Grilled Cheese City. I was appointed as the mayor of one of the cities, so I will now be known as Mayor McCheese.
I just need to note that in a conversation I had with our city manager yesterday, he also made a Mayor McCheese reference. So that's 2 in 2 days. So, Councilmember Chin is the mayor of multiple communities now. We'll tell you about that later. Next up, Councilmember Garland.
Thank you so much. I was giggling earlier because, and you probably couldn't see it, but we had a huge audience out here. And I was like, really, this is gonna be so exciting to read our announcements to a huge audience, because I know that the audience out there in the TV world is really, really large also. But when grass clippings was approved, the whole room got up and left. So it's mostly employees, and I think I counted 4 non-employees. So thank you to the 4. Thank you for Darlene for staying. I appreciate, okay. Okay, my first one is for Hayden's Ferry Legends Gala, which is March 3rd. It's tomorrow. It is going to be a lot of fun. So what they do is a Tempe History Society celebrates legends of Tempe, both living and historic members of the community who have made a difference in Tempe. It's a ticketed event. There's live music, food, beverages, silent auction. Ladies and gents will be in period attire, and I am going to ask for attire because I want to wear. I'm going to figure that out. I'd like to wear something cool. So it's tomorrow night. It's with tickets, and it's on Eventbrite, and it is $40. The next day, we're going to have, or on March 5th, we're going to have Hayden's Ferry Days, which is an awful lot of fun. Really, really hope you guys can come out, learn more about the community and the history of the community. There's going to be events and things that'll be going on there, and that is March 5th from noon to 4 p.m. I hope you can attend that. So in the very back of the room, and again, you're not here, so you can't see this, but you can see this lovely picture. Tempe is currently in the process of updating its general plan. And one of the things that they were looking at is trying to figure out, asking the community what their vision for Tempe was or things that they'd like to see with arts in the park. Councilmember Hodge and I attended the first event that was Arts in the Park event where they had this stand that's in the back of the room now that you see in the picture. And what they were doing is they had these rainbow scratch bookmarks, and they were asking people to write on there what their vision was. I thought it was so incredibly cool, and I took a picture of it at the first event. Well, 3 or 4 events later, it was almost covered with these tags. So hopefully this is going to stay in the back of the room for a while. I think it's a really cool example of us trying to find creative ways to ask people of all ages what they're interested in seeing and what their vision is for the city of Tempe. It really was pretty amazing. They're going to take that information that's on there, and it's going to end up being incorporated in, I think, the notes of what's going to be happening for our general plan. But I just thought it was really cool, so I asked if we could have it in the chambers, and it's in the back of the room. You should all look at it. There's some really neat things on there. And then the last slide that I have is that I have my next backstage pass, and it is going to be at the Diablos Stadium. We're going to take a tour of the stadium. We're going to do it with stadium management, and we're going to have a little discussion with the Tempe Diablos about what they do for our community. And it's going to be on Wednesday, March 15th at 6 p.m., and it's going to be at the Diablo Stadium. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. And so I hope that if you are interested, you will send a note to Maddie, my assistant, and she will put your name on the list. All right, the last thing I have is not on a slide, but I was invited by the National League of Cities to be one of 4 electeds to go to DC and talk to the newly elected congressmen about issues that are relating to across the country, what cities and municipalities, boots on the ground people are doing, and what our communities are looking at. We talked about homelessness, we talked about affordable housing, low housing stock, workforce development, lots of different topics. But I needed to be prepared with talking points to make sure that I didn't embarrass myself or my city. So I just want to give a shout out to Braden Kay, Brianna Fisher, Marge Zilla, Eric Iverson, Nikki Ripley and her whole team, Paul Bentley and Irma Kane, because they provided me with the most incredible talking points and notes that I needed for that trip. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And I said this to a couple people already, that it takes a village to raise a council member, and I have the best village. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Next up, Councilmember Hodge.
Okay, first off, our Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission, they had a fundraiser and they reached their goals. So it was at Panera Bread, and I went there and had a great time with the staff and ate a lot of food that I didn't really need. I attended the ASU's Walter Cronkite Awards Assembly and got a chance to meet Gail King, and she got awarded the Excellence in Journalism. And it was pretty cool because the dress she had on, I have it in my closet. So I'm that's what I'm saying. Just want to say I am cool. And this is I had a special privilege of sitting on a panel with our one and only over here, City Manager Andrew Ching, and we had a great time speaking with Colin about the city of Tempe and what's progressing for education and what's progressing for our city in business and economics, and we got hit with a curveball with the unsheltered homeless question we had. It was a very interesting one. It was for Mayor Woods, but apparently we had to take that question on, so we did a great job. We're a good team. Yes. And I just want to say congratulations to the city of Tempe. Now we're certified as a NEL certified autism center. So congratulations to us. Thank you. Yes. And just this past Saturday, the African American Advisory Committee met together and they gave out some awards. And your council member, I was awarded one, and I just want to thank them so much. Really does miss Michelle. I'm good. You know, tonight was a very special night. Her family was here, but just to say thank you. And they're still very much indeed involved in our city in Tempe and what they do for the African American Advisory. So thank you. And what is this side? Oh yes, this one we had our panel.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
ASU,
okay, I'm trying to
ASU.
figure out what we were invited to by ASU. All 7 of us were there to do the panel. It was a very fun and interesting panel. They gave us a question that was geared towards what our interest is in the city, and it was a fun time. So I enjoyed being on the panel with my colleagues. So that's great. And we did do the Arts in the Parks at Meyer Park. It was Mayor Woods actually cut the ribbon, but I took a picture. I said, I'm going to pretend like I cut it. So I took a picture with the scissors and the cutting while he was talking, I took a picture of cutting it. So I wanted to say it. I had to cut him off at the knees on that one.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yes. And my last but not least, I think I had my breakfast with Berdetta. It was a very interesting topic. It was exciting to have that topic. What was interesting about it is because we had to really cut off the communications of it because I was getting some negative vibes on it because it was an African American advisory panel. But even though I cut the invitations, I still ended up with 49 people who came there and still supported it. So I just want to say thank you for our community, even though we did had some kind of negative vibes in the beginning about it. It still ended up very positive. So I think that's the last one. I promise you guys I'm not going to do this next week. All right, thank you.
Sounds good. All right, I don't have any comments this evening, which will bring us to item number 10, public appearances. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council? And if so, please come forward and state your name and place of residence for the record. Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting. That brings me to item number 11, adjournment. Just want to announce that the next regular city council meeting is scheduled for March 16th, 2023. We are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.